The fire took hold a lot faster than Natalie had anticipated. As the diesel-soaked rags smoldered, one hand over her nose, she retreated to the back of the understair closet, where she and Merlin had taken refuge. Smoke forced its way through the cracks under the door, making her eyes sting. She couldn't take a breath without coughing. The longer they waited, the more stupid the whole idea seemed. She still didn't know what had made her turn back. She could be in the wood by now, running in the sunlight, free! Instead, she was crouched in a tiny closet with a boy who thought he was a wizard. Both of them in danger of being roasted alive, and all to rescue one small mouse. Or maybe more than a mouse. Either way, she hated to think what might happen if Merlin's father didn't see the smoke in time. Merlin must have been thinking along the same lines, for he suddenly flung himself at the door and rattled the latch. "Red-Eye!" he sputtered. "He's burning!" Natalie caught his sweater. "Wait," she whispered, though she wanted nothing more than to rush out herself. What was taking them so long? Then the front door crashed open, the passage filled with yelling casters falling over one another in their haste to reach the cellar. Still holding tightly to Merlin's sweater, Natalie put her eye to a crack in the door and peered through the smoke. Some of the Spellclave had brought their bows, impressive modern ones, which they used to fling the burning rags out of the way. Ferret rushed in with a bucket of water and threw it at the cellar doors. There was a loud hiss as it created yet more smoke. Then Hawk, Lord Hawk, pushed his way through, his scarf wrapped around his mouth and nose, swinging his bird-headed stick. "Back, you fools!" he thundered. "Get back!" Using the stick, he flicked aside a flaming pair of jeans, as if they were an irritating fly. "Get the fire extinguishers!" he ordered as he unlocked the cellar. "Get blankets from the beds. The raven's down there, and so are our spells. Quickly!" Without waiting to see if they obeyed, he took a running leap through the smoke at the cellar doors and disappeared. The Spellclaves scattered, some pounding upstairs, other heading for the kitchen. "Now!" Natalie hissed. She kicked open the closet door and tugged Merlin out. Flames licked at the light cord, but with the generators off it wouldn't be much use anyway. Thick black silence lurked below. She listened carefully. Lord Hawk must have gone into the tunnel. "Quick," she whispered. "Get your mouse before someone comes back." Merlin crouched on the top step, trembling. "I can't. It's dark." Natalie resisted an urge to thump him. Was this what Joe felt like when Nat refused to go along with Joe's harebrained schemes? "Of course it's dark," she said. "Even your father's not crazy enough to use the generator in a fire. You know where Red-Eye is, don't you?" But she could have kicked herself. She should have thought to ask Merlin if he had a flashlight. The boy hugged himself. "Please, Natalie," he said in a tiny voice. "Get him for me." The sensible thing would be to leave him and run while the coast was clear. But he looked so pathetic and scared. Before she knew it, she'd pulled her outer sweatshirt up over her mouth and was groping her way down the stairs. It wasn't as dark as she thought. Flickers of gold from the fire in the passage picked out the ghostly shapes of the nearest arches, and an eerie purple glow leaked from the tunnel at the back. Eyes smarting, Natalie paused to get her bearings. This was where she sat on the stool. That was where Claudia had gone to fetch Itzy. The Spellclave had appeared just here, a lot further from the tunnel than she thought. So how had they done it? The mouse's terrified squeaks reminded her what she'd come for. She made her way toward the sound, grabbing the cage, and fled back up the steps. Not a moment too soon. A scrape came from the tunnel behind her, and suddenly breeze blew her hair across her face. "Who's there?" came a furious shout. "Is that you, boy? Just wait till I get my hands on you!" The purple light brightened, casting Natalie's shadow before her and reflecting in the mouse's frightened eyes. She took the steps 2 at a time, her heart in her mouth. Red-Eye squeaked as he tumbled from side to side in the cage. Merlin was still crouching at the top, peering into the smoke. When Natalie appeared, he jumped back with a little scream, then rushed forward again, arms joyfully outstretched. "Red-Eye!" He froze, all the color drained from his face, as he stared at something behind her. Natalie's heart missed a beat as Lord Hawk's stick encircled her ankle. She kicked frantically, but, with her hands full, couldn't keep her balance. Desperate, she threw the cage at Merlin. "Run!" she shouted, dropping to all fours. He caught the cage but didn't seem to know what to do next. For a full 10 seconds, he just stood there, fumbling under his awful sweater. "Get out of here, you little idiot!" Natalie hissed. Merlin dropped a glimmering green star near her hand. "Cast it," he mouthed. Then, at last, he turned and ran. She couldn't get free of the stick, and Lord Hawk's hand was tightening on her other ankle, pulling her back. She seized the spell and threw it blindly over her shoulder. As she did so, she yelled the first word that came to mind. "Abracadabra!" Her captor let go. Natalie didn't wait around to see if anything had happened. She scrambled up the rest of the steps, squirmed her way through the people fighting the fire, and ducked out of the open door before they had time to react. Merlin was already halfway across the garden. Red-Eye's cage clasped tightly to his chest. "Stop them, you fools!" roared Lord Hawk, crashing out of the cellar. He was dusting himself off as if something had fallen on him. His spellclave, hampered by fire extinguishers and half blinded by smoke, rushed to the door in a mass, tripping one another up in their desperation to obey. By the time they could give chase, Natalie Merlin had reached the gates. Breath rasping, Natalie looked back. The fire seemed to be under control now, having chewed the wooden panels of the passage, but not a lot more. Foam from the extinguishers frothed at the door, and around the ankles of Lord Hawk, who stood tall on the steps, his eyes brighter than the autumn sun. He halted the pursuers with a raised hand and pointed his stick at Natalie. His voice crept over her skin like ice. "By the ancient bond of the spellclave, I command you, spider, stop or be turned to stone." Natalie's stomach did a peculiar dance. With an effort, she tore her gaze from the lodge. She'd forgotten her own rule. Don't look back. Whatever happens, don't look back. The gates were chained shut, but the ornate ironwork provided plenty of footholds, and Merlin had already started to climb. He was having trouble with Red Eye's cage, though. As he let go of the gate to get a firmer grip on it, his foot slipped and he fell flat on his back at Natalie's feet. "Are you stupid or something?" she yelled at him. "He'll be safe. Plenty of places for a mouse to hide out here." Merlin looked doubtful but fumbled with the cage fastening. To Natalie's surprise, the mouse shot straight under the gate and streaked into the trees. The boy went up and over much faster than before. Natalie scrambled after him, her feet slipping on wet iron. At the top, she paused to catch her breath and risked another glance back. None of the spellclave was following. Lord Hawk remained standing on the step, the fire draft fluttering the feather in his hair, staring at her, shaking his head. "Impossible," he said, his voice faint in the distance. "I bonded you!" Claudia joined him, her blonde hair in disarray, a smudge of soot on one pale cheek. As she watched the escape, her lips curved into the faintest of smiles.